Okay, Act 1 was so good, we might as well keep reading. Act 2 takes place in Macbeth's castle. This is outside in the courtyard. Enter Banquo and Fleance, bearing a torch before him. Banquo says, "How goes the night, boy?" "The moon is down. I have not heard the clock." "And she goes down at 12. I take it 'tis later, sir." "Hold, take my sword." "There's husbandry in heaven. Their candles are all out. Take thee that too. A heavy summons lies like lead upon me, and yet I would not sleep. Merciful powers, restrain in me the cursed thoughts that nature gives way to in repose." Enter Macbeth and a servant with a torch. "Give me my sword. Who's there?" Macbeth says, "A friend." "What, sir, not yet at rest? The king's abed. He hath been in unusual pleasure, and sent forth great largesse to your offices. This diamond he greets your wife withal, by the name of the most kind hostess, and shut up in measureless content. Being unprepared, our will became the servant to defect, which else should free have wrought. All's well. I I dreamt last night of the 3 weird sisters. To you they have showed some truth." And Macbeth lies and says, "I think not of them. Yet, when we can entreat an hour to serve, we would spend it in some words upon that business, if you would grant the time." "At your kindest leisure. If ye shall cleave to my consent, then, when 'tis, it shall make honor for you." Banquo says, "So I lose none in seeking to augment it, but still keep my bosom franchised and allegiance clear. I shall be counselled." "Good repose the while." "Thanks, sir. The like to you." Exit Banquo and Fleance. Okay, so Macbeth and Banquo speak a little bit about the witch's prophecies, but they don't really get too far. Macbeth tells the servant, "Go, bid thy mistress when my drink is ready. She strike upon the bell. Get thee to bed." Okay, the servant exits, and here is Macbeth's famous dagger soliloquy. He says, first off, he looks, and usually on stage they'll have like a hovering dagger. Sometimes the witches come out and he can't see them, but he can see the dagger that they're carrying. And he says, "Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou but a dagger of the mind, a false creation, proceeding from the heat oppressed brain? I see thee yet, in form as palpable as that which I draw." And he pulls out his own dagger. "Thou marshallest me the way that I was going, and such an instrument I was to use. Mine eyes are made the fools of the other senses, or else worth all the rest. I see thee still, and on thy blade and dudgeon gouts of blood, which was not so before. There's no such thing. It is the bloody business which informs thus to mine eyes. Now, over the one half-world nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtained sleep. Witchcraft celebrates pale Hecate's offerings, and withered murder, alarmed by his sentinel the wolf, whose howls his watch, thus with his stealthy pace, with Tarquin's ravishing strides, towards his design moves like a ghost. Thou sure and firm-set earth, hear not my steps, which way they walk for fear. Thy very stones prate of my whereabout, and take the present horror from the time, which now it suits with it. Whiles I threat, he lives. Words to the heat of deeds, too cold breath gives. I go, and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell. End of scene. All right, that was a short scene, but it's got the "Is this a dagger I see before me?" speech. What is the dagger? Obviously, it's open to interpretation, but the dagger is pointing in the direction towards Duncan's room, which means it is fate. It is a dagger of fate. Now, whether it was put there by the witches or just a figment of Macbeth's imagination is up for grabs, but it brings up the question, can you deny your fate? Can you go the other direction? I mean, there's a dagger floating there in front of you, pointing the direction that you're supposed to go. Can you deny it? Or do you take the direction that is given to you? Macbeth seems to think that he has no choice. So he says a couple Halloween things, and then he moves on. Next scene is scene 2. It's only 6 minutes in, so I'm going to keep going. Okay, Lady Macbeth is by herself inside the castle. That which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. What hath quenched them hath given me fire. Hark! Peace. It was the owl that shrieked, the fatal bellman, which gives the sternest good night. He is about it. The doors are open, and the surfeited grooms do mock their charge with snores. I have drugged their possets, that death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die. Okay, off stage, inside Duncan's room, we hear Macbeth's voice. Who's there? What? Ho! Alack, I'm afraid they have waked, and 'tis not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. Hark! I laid their daggers ready. He could not miss them. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I had done it. Oh, Lady Macbeth says that Duncan resembled her father, and that's why she wasn't able to kill Duncan herself. Enter Macbeth. My husband, I have done the deed. Didst thou not hear a noise? I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry. Did not you speak? When? Now. As I descended? Aye. Hark! Who lies in the second chamber? Donalbain. This is a sorry sight. Looking at his hands, he's covered with blood, by the way. A foolish thought, to say a sorry sight. There's one did laugh in his sleep, and one cried murder. That they did wake each other, I stood and heard them, but they did say their prayers and addressed them again to sleep. There are two lodged together. One cried, God bless us, and amen the other, as they had seen with these hangmen's hands. Listen their fear. I could not say amen. When they did say God bless us. Consider it not so deeply. But wherefore could not I pronounce amen? I had most need of blessing, and amen stuck in my throat. These deeds must not be thought after these ways, so it will make us mad. Methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep. The innocent sleep, sleep that knits up the ravelled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life, sore labour's bath, balm of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast. What do you mean? Still it cried, sleep no more, to all the house. Glameth hath murdered sleep, and therefore Cawdor shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more. Who was it that thus cried? Why, worthy Thane, you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain-sickly of things. Go get some water, and wash this filthy witness from your hand. Why did you bring these daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go carry them, and smear the sleepy grooms with blood. I'll go no more. I am afraid to think what I have done. Look on it again I dare not. Infirm of purpose! Give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. If he do bleed, I'll glid the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt. Whence that knocking? How is it with me when every noise appalls me? What hands are here? How they pluck out mine eyes? Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No, this my hand will rather the multitudinous seas of Incarnadine make the green one red. He's saying there's so much blood on his hands that if he tried to wash his hands in the ocean, it would turn the water red. Lady Macbeth returns from the sleeping chamber without the daggers, and now she has blood on her hands too, and says, My hands are of your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white. I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber. A little water clears us of this deed. How easy is it then? Your constancy hath left you unattended. Hark, more knocking. Get on your nightgown, lest occasion call us, and show us to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts. To know my deed, 'twere best not know myself. Wake, Duncan, with thy knocking. I would thou couldst. Into scene 2. All right, so in typical Macbeth style, the murder of Duncan does not happen on stage. It happens off stage. Lady Macbeth is waiting outside the room, talking all Halloween-like. And then Macbeth comes in, covered with blood, and carrying the daggers that he used to kill him. And Macbeth is freaking out. First he's like freaking out because he couldn't say amen because he had just sinned, and now he needed an amen and he couldn't do it. He's worried about who was in the other room. It seems like they woke up and he could hear their conversation. I don't think this is less than important. Donalbain and Malcolm are in the room next to Duncan. And they wake up, according to Macbeth, and heard what was going on. And one of them said, murder. And then the other one said, God bless us. And the other then said, amen. And then they went back to sleep. Now, I find this curious. If you hear a murder going on in the room next to yours, and it's your father's room, and he's the king, then, I don't know, wouldn't you at least get up to go check him? But Donalbain and Malcolm don't even bother to go check on their dad. They just go back to sleep. It makes me a little bit suspicious of them. And then Macbeth talks about how he already knows he's not going to ever be able to sleep again. He says, sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep. Now remember what the witch said in Act 1, Scene 3. She said the sailor will be kept up 7 times 9 times 9 nights where he won't be able to sleep and he'll be lost. And Macbeth is now saying that he's never going to sleep again, that he has murdered sleep. Lady Macbeth is Grace under pressure. She's not freaking out. You know, she's actually chastising her husband a little bit, calling him childish for being afraid. And when he refuses to go back into the room to put the daggers on the chamberlains, like she has to do it herself. So she takes the daggers and she has to go plant the weapons on the people they're trying to frame. And this puts blood on her hands. So she's, an accomplice to the murder, very much so. And we'll see where that goes later. And somebody's been knocking on the door during this whole scene, which kind of adds to the anticipation and the tension going on. It's like they need to hurry up and wash up and put on their pajamas and go to bed so that they look like they had nothing to do with this. In Scene 3, we're going to find out who was knocking on the door. But I'm going to stop for now and continue later.